Hello, welcome to another Daily Digest video. I am Ross Merriam. Today I am playing a green-red devotion deck, really close to mono green, but a version of the deck that is much more aggressive than previous variants, and I think the driving force behind that is Steel Leaf Champion for one, a really powerful threat that you can land on turn 2 that survives Lightning Bolt, often survives Fatal Push, and then Bloodbraid Elf, a card that was recently unbanned, hasn't really made the impact that most people thought it would, but here it does a lot of good work. Even though it's not a mono green card, the Cascade ability puts a lot of devotion symbols on the battlefield, especially if you get Steel Leaf Champion. So we'll see how good this version of the deck is. I'm a little wary of this opening hand without a mana creature. There's 4 Sprawl, 4 Arbor Elf, and 1 Birds of Paradise. And I really want to have one on turn 1, but this is a pretty strong 2 through 4. Elvish Visionary is the best card in Magic's history, so turn 2, optimal. This is our best 3-drop, and this is our best 4-drop, so looks pretty good to me. So even without a 1-drop, I'm willing to keep here, especially on the play. I'll also be able to get our Stomping Ground tapped without paying any life, in case that's relevant. So that's a nice bonus. Of course, now that means our opponent's playing a control deck. I'm really good at this guessing game. I don't know if anyone has realized this, but when you're trying to figure out what your opponent has, just guess the worst possible every single time, and you're right like 90%. It's uncanny. So, Spell Snare. Okay, we're 1 for 2 so far. That means I'm going to be right the next 7 times in a row. This is an awkward time to draw Burning Tree Emissary, by the way, because I cannot cast it into Steel Leaf Champion, because the ability makes red mana. It does indeed look like our opponent is Jeskai, which also means they're a Path to Exile deck. That makes them good against Steel Leaf Champion, but it makes them worse against Bloodbraid Elf. Elf is definitely one of our best cards in this matchup. Hopefully we can leverage that. And Visionary is pretty good too, but it's the best card ever printed, so of course it's going to be good. Search for Azcanta. Here we go. Okay. Can I make a bajillion mana next turn? Yeah, if our opponent doesn't interact with us, which is incredibly unlikely, I can go nick those, tap both forests, play Burning Tree Emissary, make red-green, use that to make green with nick those for 6, play Steel Leaf Champion with 3 green floating, and then tap the Stomping Ground for red and play Bloodbraid Elf. And that would be great. But you know, the odds of your Jeskai opponent going 3 turns without interacting with you at all is ridiculously low. And how often is it the case that when they don't interact with you for 3 turns that they verdict you on turn 4, which would basically undo everything we did? It's pretty high, right? So I'm going to try to, as best as I can, measure my threats here so as to not lose out to a Supreme Verdict. But I do really want a Bloodbraid to apply pressure. Oh, I actually kind of want to save Bloodbraid until the post-verdict turn. So I'm going to see what they do here. They kept the card on top with Search for Azcanta, and this Garruk is actually great. So now I get to attack for 6. They're pretty incentivized to use a Path on the Steel Leaf Champion because it's just worth so much damage. They also can't Logic Knot us. They usually don't have a 2-mana counterspell they can cast for colorless blue. They do indeed Path. So let's use Path's ability. And let them take 1. Thinking about how I want to play this Garruk, and even though they haven't really had a good opportunity to play a Lightning Bolt here, so I don't want to give them that opportunity. I think that means I'm going to Garruk Plus and play the Emissary. And if they want to bolt Emissary, that's fine. But I don't want to lose my Garruk to a bolt. At least not here, when it lets them use their mana effectively. So let's just untap. This likely will not bring a Supreme Verdict from them. It's only 3 power. They're still at 17. So I'm still wary of a Verdict here. Usually they have 2 sweepers. Sometimes it's a 1-1 split between Verdict and Wrath of God because of Meddling Mage. But in this matchup, they're virtually the same. See what they do with this search this turn. Kept last turn. Unclear if that was the path, but they milled this turn. Milled a mountain, so definitely have enough lands to operate here. There's land 4. And an unsurprising pass of the turn. So now I can be wary of Cryptic Command. The awkward part about Garruk Wildspeaker in this matchup is that its ultimate has a hard time ending the game against so much removal, and its +1 doesn't generate any implicit value, and it's hard to use the -1 a lot without losing it to Lightning Bolt. You really want Planeswalkers that you can plus in this matchup and gain value. Domri Raid would be great. I do think I'm going to run out the Bloodbraid Elf. Am I? Maybe I should have been a little bit more aggressive here because of Cryptic. I'm caught a bit in a squeeze between Cryptic Command and Supreme Verdict. If I have Bloodbraid Elf here, they could pretty easily just take 6, untap Verdict me. I guess they'd be at 10 after the fetch. I'd still have a Garruk in play. And I'd be able to land a Steel Leaf Champion, but they have a bunch of cards in hand. They're going to flip a Search for Azcanta pretty quickly. This is going to go to 4 cards in graveyard. If they Verdict, they'll be at 5. If there's mill twice, they flip it the turn after they Verdict me. And just start finding 1-for-1 removal. I think the Garruk's going to have a hard time keeping pace with that. Don't have a lot of Eternal Witnesses to help gain card advantage. I'm at the point where if I run them out of counter spells, I can start landing big spells. I have 6 mana. I can land the Rurk Thar. I could land Gigantosaurs. I can land the Wormcoil Engine. So maybe my goal here is to try to run them out of paths. Like if they have a Snapcaster Mage in hand, and that's their plan to sort of snap path when I play things and trade the snap off, maybe that's good for me to get them to path something small. Okay, that's a motivating factor to, oh no, I didn't mean to click that one. I don't think it matters. But whatever. Clicking too fast. It's an interesting one, but probably not great here, unless they don't read it properly and don't crack this turn in response. Unless they don't have Verdict. If they don't have a Verdict, then the Armasaur is pretty good. If they don't have an answer to it at all, it'll sort of check the Azcanta. Okay, they do nothing, which is interesting. So let's mush them for 6. And kind of feel like this is going to be a Snapcaster Mage, path the Armasaur, block Bloodbraid Elf. And what a surprise. Okay. Well, we're going to have a lot of mana. Whole lot of mana. Ooh. Okay. They opt to protect their life total here instead of dealing with the Armasaur. I'm actually pretty happy about that. Maybe not because they have this search. Should I play the Arbor Elf here? This is not really worth a Verdict in my mind. I don't want to play the Champion because then it's definitely worth a Verdict. But I don't mind playing the Arbor Elf. See if they have not written. Oh, yeah. So we get to draw a card here. Bit of a misstep from our opponent. Not a great card to draw. The paths have given us plenty of extra mana, so the sprawls are not very good right now. Another awkward aspect of Garrick's ultimate, if they ever leave me with a bunch of small creatures, is that it gets blown up by Cryptic Command. Definitely a hard one. Hard Planeswalker to use in this matchup. They've been a remand here with the search. Makes sense. I have plenty of mana. And they can get the cantrip by just putting it in the graveyard and get closer to this Azcanta. The Sunken Ruin. Right now I have 7 lands in play to their 4. That is a lot. But I'm not really doing anything with it. Nor does my deck have a lot of mana sinks to use this. Oh, our opponent is Jeskai Saheeli. Very interesting. We may just be dead then. Because we don't really have ways to interact with this combo. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, a little hoofy woofy. Ooh. Okay. I know this nets mana because we get extra devotion and we're Nykthosing twice because of Garrick. So let's choose green. If we play Steely Champion, we net all that mana back because we can activate Nykthos after it, and we get an extra creature from Hoof. If they have Remand, and they remand Steel Leaf Champion, does that affect our ability to kill them? Not really, because we have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 devotion. We'll make 7 mana, play Champion, go to 4 mana, untap these 2 lands, and they make 10, we'll go to 14. If we play Champion, can we make 16 so we can cast Hoof after our remand? That's the other consideration. I said we had 7 here, so that gets us to 10. So basically we make 10 mana, Garrick, untap those same 2 lands, make 10 more mana. So we'll have 21, maybe 23 of this Arbor Elf. So we can definitely cast it through remand. If they have 2 1-mana removal spells, you know, that's great for them. We'll only have 3 creatures in play at that point. We'll be attacking for 12, so they'll be able to take it, go to 3. We'll have them dead next, or I guess 2, and then they'll need Saheeli as their last card, or then top 2 because of search. They'll have some time to find it. So we're not great against 2 more 1-mana removal spells, but we beat a single 1-mana removal spell, and we beat a remand, and we beat a Snapcaster Mage as a blocker. So that's a lot of things that we can beat. So I'm pretty happy about this. Let's run our Steel Leaf out. Let's make a bajillion green mana. If they have Mana Leak, we can pay for it with just the Stomping Ground. Is there anything that makes us pay more than that? I mean, we can make 2 more with the Arbor Elf, and then they'll still be forced to chump block, or they'll still be dead, right? We'll have 3 attackers with 5 creatures, that's 15. Base power 8, that's 23. They soak up 4, that's 19. So, yeah, we can just cast this Hoof right now, and then minus our Garrick just for giggles. And that'll deal a lot of damage. Whew. Kind of feel like they had the Saheeli based on how they played that game. And especially sort of like run. Although, I guess with you need 6 mana to kill with the combo immediately, but they probably just wanted to block a little bit. Either way, I'm super happy about that extra card they gave us with this Scalding Tarn, because it was a good one. Okay, next game, our opponent is Jeskai Saheeli. Spellskite breaks up the combo, so I'm good on that one. Why does that only bring 2 of them? A Braid does not break up the combo, but Lightning Bolt does. What is going on? My mouse has been acting up the last couple days. It's really old, as in like 10 years old. So maybe I need a new one, but I guess we can just double click. If our opponent transitions into more of a control deck, then Thrun seems good, so I'm happy with those 5. I don't think Wurmcoil is good against our Path to Exile deck. Ditto with Gigantosauruses. I really just want to value them out and have a couple disruption cards for the combo. Honestly, I kind of like the rest of our deck. Maybe I'm supposed to cut the bird because they're probably bringing in sweepers. That makes sense to me. They also might have Electrolyze. The Ooze is good against Snapcaster Mage. I like all the Planeswalkers. Maybe the Slime isn't that good. It attacks through some stuff, and taking a land is kind of nice. Maybe Runic Armasaur isn't good. Our opponent didn't quite understand how this card worked the first time, which I enjoyed. But are we going to get that luxury a second time? Probably not. So I'm fine trimming an Armasaur. Don't think Blood Moon's going to be good enough. If we go to game 3 and we see game 2, our opponent doesn't really play around it, then Blood Moon on the play against an unaware opponent, I think will be worth it. But not here on the draw. This hand is not very fast. We do have some answers to the combo, but they're going to be able to beat some spell skites if we don't do anything to follow it up. And we're only on one land here. So let's take them all again. This hand, however, does a lot of things. So let's keep it and hope to find another land, shall we? And there is that land. The question here is whether or not I want to be greedy and run out the Arbor Elf on turn 1. Because I could Elf on turn 1, and then potentially make 4 mana on turn 2 and Bloodbraid. Or I can play it safe, sprawl on 1, and definitely land Steely the Champion on 2. Thing is, against a Path Exile deck, I'm not super enthralled by running out Steely the Champion very fast. So I think I'm going to take the risk. Because otherwise this Arbor Elf just looks really bad. So I kind of like forcing my opponent's play. If they have a removal spell, I also get some information here if they pass. This might force them to take some damage to get an untapped red source, which does happen. But now they're helixing till it's not the end of the world. I definitely want to get Stomping Ground here because I want triple green for Steel Leaf, so I'm going to get that tapped. And I'm going to sprawl this forest and in green. It does make it less likely that I draw a land next turn, but I don't absolutely need to Bloodbraid Elf. I can just play the champion. I feel a little behind right now, especially if they play a Saheeli. I don't think I'll be able to play around that. Okay, search. Do they have a third land? They do. Ooh. And now I get to Bloodbraid because I hit a land. This could let them use their mana with another Lightning Bolt. Or not another, but a Lightning Bolt. But, you know, casting 2 spells is worth a lot. Also, I want to be able, if I'm stuck on 4 mana for a while, Champion is a threat I can deploy while holding up Lightning Bolt. Right now, I'm not under any threat of the combo, so tapping out is a lot safer. And I definitely want to start pressuring them. They're still at 20 life because of the Helix. They're down to 4 cards, though. And the Visionary draws an extra card, so... And we both have equal cards in hand, but I have 2 extra cards in play. Makes me feel pretty good. Because I have adequate pressure here. I'm not super afraid of the combo. So, I'm checking all the boxes. We'll see how the next couple turns play out. If they have the goods, if they find good cards with search. They do keep that one on top. Now they have a Visions. How do they play this one? They are still in the tank. Do they have an opportunity to Visions earlier? Yeah, they could have Visions last turn, right? Along with the search. They just played Fetch Land Go. So I have a feeling the Visions was their card for turn. They split the 2, unsurprisingly. And they're 1 mana short of showing me the combo. I assume they have sweepers in post board, so I do want to save a Bloodbraid Elf. I think this turn I'm just going to attack, see if they give me a window to land a threat freely. If not, I might just pass. That feels kind of weak. If they have like another Helix in hand, let's go to 12, go back into 15, and I have nothing. and then probably too slow to beat the Escanta. I do think I need to run out something. My hand's pretty good. It's pretty threat heavy. Okay, they just go for the path, so I'm happy to see that. So they're going to take one here. I, on the other hand, am going to play Garrick into Steel Leaf Champion while holding up this Lightning Bolt. So I have tons of pressure, and a Verdict or some other sweeper is not great because I have a Planeswalker, only 2 creatures in play, one of them replace themselves. Problem now is I have like a lot of mana and not really good ways to use it, and they are still at 15. So I might end up being like the person that floods, whereas they're just making land drops normally. Especially if they have a Snapcaster this turn to trade for my board. Just give me another sort of useless land. So, honestly, this does kind of feel like a game that I'm going to lose to the Escanta. But we'll see. That is another reason to bring in Blood Moon. It turns off Escanta. So maybe that was a mistake. Our opponent has certainly just found all dual lands. I keep another card on top. So if I lose this game, I'm definitely bringing in the Blood Moon for Game 3. This looks like Bolt, Snap, Bolt. Just not the end of the world. It means they use their Snap to deal with Garrick and not Steel Leaf Champion. I wonder if they're reconsidering now. Looks like they're going for it. Perhaps a misstep on my part to not find 2 red sources, but I sprawled pretty early. Interesting. A surprising amount of reach for my deck, drawing both bolts. I'll be very happy to trade Visionary for Snap here. Yeah, unsurprisingly, my opponent is not happy to do that. No 5th land from them. So I'm just going to sit here in this holding pattern. They're on 5 cards in graveyard. So they mill a Felidar Guardian. I guess that makes sense if they don't have 5th land, so Blinking Snap doesn't do anything. The 1/4 doesn't block Steel Leaf Champion. And now we're in an interesting spot. So they draw a 5th land here, and they have something to do with it. Going to 7. Okay, they have a Felidar Guardian in hand. So they're going to go to Blink Snap, and I'm going to bolt it in response. And that means they're probably dead. So let's bolt this. So I'm getting paid off for not being too aggressive with the Bloodbraid last turn. But Bloodbraid last turn was not a great play because they had Snap to block it. So I just run headfirst into a sweeper there. Granted, they didn't have the sweeper, but... feels like they should have Felidar Guardian and before playing the Sacred Foundry there, because they know they're targeting path, and then they would have been able to save 2 life against a Lightning Bolt. So a small misstep for my opponent there too. And I don't see any reason to not just bolt right now. There are ways that they could play like Saheeli plus Remand next turn when I only have 1 red source. To beat the Lightning Bolt, whereas they'd have to have Dispel here into some answer to this. So, and if they have Dispel into Saheeli, I can't win. So I'll just bolt right now. Okay. So, kind of an interesting match there against a deck that I would not have thought would be a good matchup, because my deck does not have... Game 1 does not have basically any interaction with the combo, right? Like, I can backdoor my way into dealing with a Felidar Guardian, but certainly not at instant speed. I just got a little lucky to find the Craterhoof Behemoth on the right turn, and my opponent did give me an extra card, so that's sort of them getting punished for a mistake. Game 2, I think, is a really instructive game. Um, I'm really happy with how I sequenced basically every turn, and I got paid off in a lot of different spots. I almost had basically had all of most of their outs covered, unless they had the real high end. Um, I wasn't thinking about them drawing the land 5 into Felidar Guardian when I held up Bolt. I just realized that the Bloodbird Elf wasn't that valuable, and I could just pass, and it just ended up being worthwhile. My opponent might have had a misstep there when they dealt with the Garrick instead of the 5/4. It, I guess when they have Felidar Guardian in play, it's a lot easier to use the bolt, snap bolt first, and then just draw land 5. So I guess it makes sense from their end. They just got blown out by a lightning bolt, which is only a 2 of in my sideboard, and I think they could have correctly put me on very few removal spells, even in the post-board games, given the main deck configuration of my deck being a Nykthos deck. So I think they played fine, except they did throw away 2 damage, which is a weird play to notice. You sort of want to have the mana up when you target with Snapcaster Mage, but you don't have to. A Snapcaster is worded that you can cast a spell at any time until the end of turn. So, and that 2 damage did matter. I would have been able to attack them to 4 instead. I would have had to hold up the Lightning Bolt for another turn and sort of maneuver my way around. Maybe I go really aggressive and go Bolt, End Step, untap, Bloodbird Elf, attack you with 3 creatures that are all lethal. Hope you don't have an answer. That would have been really bad against Cryptic Command. But it's hard for me there to sit there holding up the Lightning Bolt against Saheeli. Maybe I give it 1 turn and try to attack once, and if they have another path, then see what I can do. Maybe I draw another creature, so I extend that plus the Visionary, and then go EOT Bolt into a Bloodbird Elf and sort of surprise them with 3 lethal attackers. That seems reasonable, but as is, I mean, they gave me the extra card in game 1, and threw away 2 life in game 2, and both resources there were very relevant. We played 2 tight games. Opponent made 2 small mistakes, definitely things that I think a lot of players miss, and I don't fault people for missing. And I was able to punish them and win a matchup that I definitely don't think is good on paper. So good show for the Green-Red Aggro Devotion deck. Hope you enjoyed watching it, and you can come back and see me on Friday. Bye.